Hi Gemini, welcome to your October Tarot Horoscope. After a year of doing these, I finally figured out that I can just shuffle the cards ahead of time instead of doing it forever on camera. So I've already picked a card for you. I haven't seen it yet though. So ready for the month of October for you. The first 2/3 of October is Libra season, and then we'll be rolling into Scorpio season. So your card for October is the Hermit. Here you go, Gemini. That's what he looks like. So we have lots of blue here. We have this kind of monk figure. He's got like this kind of jeweled halo almost around him, as well as this little lantern that has what looks like a little person or a baby in it. A little wand here, and that's the Hermit there. So we're going to see what the Hermit has to say for you. Okay, the Hermit. Healing. It is no accident that the lantern in the picture reminds us of the biblical parable of the wise and the foolish maidens. Wise maidens are on the alert and keep their light at the ready. Dali drew on the portrait of Luca Pacioli, a Renaissance scholar, a mathematical genius, and the inventor of modern bookkeeping, whose actual life shows some parallels to the symbolic meaning of the Hermit. This card is all about evaluating the sum of your experiences and constantly reorganizing your life accordingly. Every human being brings something original and novel into the world, represented by the embryo in the lantern, the homunculus. Above the head of the figure, we see jewels, some of them egg-shaped. Like the embryo, the egg is a symbol of fertility and of the growth of something new. Your light gets stronger as you resolve your own contradictions. If you do not assume responsibility for your life, or if you retreat into incompetence or irresponsibility, you will fail to approach the magnificent power of the Hermit. He exemplifies, rather, a person who tackles his problems when appropriate and solves them. As such, this card is all about using your own light to heal and sanctify your world and to transform the earth back into its virginal state. Practical advice. This card sometimes signals a need for rest and withdrawal, but more often for commitment and effort and for accepting responsibility. Pay your debts in a material as well as a moral sense. Increase your own wealth, wellness, and well-being, as well as that of your fellow human beings. Okay, the Hermit card. So this feels actually really kind of nice seasonally. So with this card, all about healing, kind of centering yourself, refocusing, rededicating. But what's kind of the interesting component here is the connection, like the healing as a medicine. But the connection between in this hermit is this idea of the monk who's actually dedicated to a work, a particular task. So healing in this case, or hermitude, is not simply a retreat to rest and a retreat to avoid something, as if a rest and hermitude is running away from something and hiding from it. The goal instead is running to solitude in order to do something, in order to focus on a task, to recommit, to dedicate to a work. That the rest of the world or all of that might be a distraction from the work. It's not necessarily running from something, it's running towards a place where you can work with dedication and focus on a task, which may be healing. You might be focusing on your own healing, quite frankly. That's a very good reason to retreat from a lot of things in the world, to focus on your health and well-being, your mental, spiritual, emotional, physical health. But it can also be a healing process to be dedicated to a task, to feel in this case, the idea of the hermit or the monk, that there is a spiritual fulfillment in working in a material way. A dedication to a mundane physical task has in and of itself a spiritual ripple and a component, not just the value of the work being done, but the value to you and your spiritual being in doing the work, being in the process. The commitment to the work can be the medicine as well as the result of the work. So there's the working and the reaping, and both of those are a big part of the healing process of the hermit. So being in this time of this season, so Libra season, the first 2/3 of October, we're in Libra season. It's an interesting feeling because Libra is the sign of the other. So it's usually like partnership. There's a lot of focus in Libra season on communication between partners or assessing. And partner can be romantic or sexual partners, but it can also be business partners or any sort of agreement-based coming together union of two equals in order to serve a particular goal. So oftentimes we want to be focusing on the other in this season. So that may be a part of it. That might be, okay, how, maybe your connection in partnership to somebody has a particular goal in mind, that in order to serve that union, you may retreat into hermitude for a time in order to focus on a work, focus on a task that ultimately comes back into that service or union. Or maybe your hermitude is from other things and other people and other tasks in order to focus on the work of the union of this partnership. So hermitude doesn't have to be solitude, it doesn't have to be alone completely. It may just be taking a break from other things in order to focus in on the work or the dedication of a partnership. So it could, or retreating from a partnership for solitude to feed back in. Like, it doesn't have to mean I'm out, I'm gone, I'm running away to alone time. It's more about the dedication and the focus. So another aspect of Libra season is balance. Libra season starts with the equinox, the balance of light and dark in the world. And so the idea of going into that hermit state, focusing and dedicating your energy into balance. If you've had a very extreme, like a few seasons of a lot of energy output, especially coming from Virgo season, where often our energy is focused on the other in a service mode, then Libra season might be bringing balance into, you've spent a lot of time giving to others, maybe now your focus is solitude to give into yourself. So there's this, yes, we're talking about energy into partnerships and relationships, but it's also bringing back into balance. After we've had that season of, in the southern hemisphere, it's been the season of dark. In the northern hemisphere, it's been the season of light. Coming back into balance to kind of reorient those energies while preparing for the next season of light or dark, respectively. So there's, this preparation phase, this feeling of, really bringing in that energy to focus on your particular task. Then we have Scorpio season towards the end of the month. And Scorpio season is, with this card, like that, bringing into that withdrawal state of focusing your energy or putting aside certain things of the world to bring yourself into the dedication of, next little story here, bringing yourself to the dedication of the work, may be in preparation for the choices or experiences of Scorpio season that often looks like a death, that often looks like a Scorpio season is that life, death, rebirth cycle, and it's the renewal through death. It's the rebirth and renewal through destruction or loss, where we cannot have a new phase or we cannot have a new growth or a new experience without allowing something to go away, without detaching from what we maybe have held close, letting it go in order to have something new come in. So this, hermitude often has this feeling of loss or letting things go, of, in order to retreat to solitude or to retreat and focusing on this, I have to focus and put these other things away. So to properly dive into hermitude involves accepting a loss, accepting that you're not going to go out and do certain things, accepting you're not going to give your energy other places, accepting that you may miss opportunities because you're focusing here. But that focus is that nutritive kind of allowing, sweeping away that kind of the buildup and energy of life and growth, clearing it away in order for a new experience and a new growth to come around next season. So there is, the kind of acceptance of a loss for a time that is in preparation for the new gain. So Scorpio season, really, in order to not feel overwhelmed or in too much grief about what can often be that a period of loss, is to really see it in the whole scope of the whole life-death cycle, that there will be, this is the space for the new rebirth later. So that's kind of what I'm feeling for this particular card for you, Gemini. This might be, like, on the one hand, for you, Gemini, there's a lot of, an archetype of Gemini is certainly freedom, is very much like moving from this to this, not being bogged down for any one particular time, a little bit of this, kind of moving around in that kind of airy way. So there might be feeling like like, what do you mean dedicating to a work? Like, like hermitude, pulling in, like, I like to kind of be a little butterfly, social butterfly places, or I don't want to focus in for too long. I like to kind of move forward into other things. So this might feel like a little bit of tension of like, I'm not ready to give that up. I want to keep going. I want to keep changing. So it really is, again, if you can think about, this is preparation also for the new cycle, that your ability to be able to change and move and grow and have that expansion If you expand forever without contracting, you lose a lot of that force and potency. If you grow forever without having a time to go fallow or get those nutrition, then your next growth will be a lot weaker. So, and a lot more unhealthy. So this idea of trying to focus on it's all for the greater life cycle. It's all for the greater good and capacity for you to be able to still explore and behave in the ways that are authentic to you. In the grand scheme, not every moment of every day is going to feel like you're in the power position or feel super authentic to what you want, but it's the whole cycle. It's part of making sure that this is something that's sustainable. So trying to, if you do feel, I mean, some of you also might be burnt out. Like, just because you're a Gemini doesn't mean you're like, oh, sometimes I do need to have a little rest. Like, maybe a little bit of grounding wouldn't be a problem. So there is that component that this might just be like, oh, actually, I don't mind a little recharge. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. So whichever it is for you, but there's a bit of regret, or if you're like, I don't mind, I'll take a little bit of time to myself, and then I can, go out and move through the world again a bit later. So whatever it is that's coming up for you this October. This particular October has a lot of retrogrades in it. Libra season's got a lot of retrogrades, so there might be this feeling of like that really does support this energy of retreat, refocus, reorientation, reflection. So this, like, coming into hermitude at this particular time of retrograde is probably actually a really great thing to do. I would highly suggest you take the Libra season workshop. There's a lot more information on the retrogrades and the transits to just kind of help you see what's coming up this particular season. This workshop is not what it usually is, which is pay what you can to me. This is a donation base to the Native Women's Association of Canada instead. So focusing in on the Libra season themes and values of justice and balance as well. September 30th in Libra season here in Canada is Truth and Reconciliation Day. So in light of that, the decision to have the donations from this workshop go to the Native Women's Associations of Canada is just part and parcel of this ongoing process of reconciliation. So please take that workshop. It'll be super helpful for you, but more importantly, all of those donations go to a really excellent association, so please donate generously. Yeah, that's what's coming up for you this October. Best of luck, Gemini, and I will see you next month.